Well, folks, it was pretty interesting morning, early afternoon. So I went to bed last night. I don't know. It was late. It was late, and it was fine. No rain. Woke up at 3:30 in the morning and decided to go out on the patio, terrace, whatever you want to call it out here, and smoke a cigarette. And it was about 3:30 in the morning after I took my piss, and man, it was just hammering down rain. It was pounding down rain hard. And I smoked a couple cigarettes, and I was cold. I was cold. I was cold. The rain was coming down really, really hard, and the wind wasn't blowing too bad, but it was. And the mist was blowing in on me, and usually you don't get wet at all out there. I mean, it's just, you ain't gonna get wet. But the mist was kind of blowing, and I was getting cold, so I came inside and woke up at I don't know, 7:22, 7:15, I think it was, or something like that. And went outside and looked out there. The field was filled with water. And I was like, wow, wow, you know. And I didn't even check. My brother-in-law had already messaged me prior to that, telling me it's flooded. I didn't check my phone till later. But so is what I did. I was like, wow. I come inside here, and every once in a while the kids will stay up here, and so we had Clark stayed downstairs last night, and we had Casey, Klein, and then another young lady, a relative's daughter stay up here. They slept on the floor, and then me and Jemabel, and I come in, and you know, a couple of the girls were up playing on their phones, and I says, Casey, the oldest, I says, Casey, I says, it's flooding out. It's flooded out there. You know that? She's like, what? I says, it's flooded out there. And she's like, oh, you know, no big deal. And then I go outside, sit there. I'm like, wow, this is pretty impressive, man. I'm like, wow, you know. And then she comes out. Casey comes out, looks over there, looks over the railing, and looks at it and looks at me and goes back to bed. It's like, okay, well, it must not be that bad. It must not be that bad. So that was interesting. And no big deal. No big deal. I talked to my brother-in-law later. He says this is, he's got about 3 foot before it come in his house, 2.5 foot, and then Mama and Papa, their house sits right beside theirs, and it's about Mama and Papa's is about 1.5 foot, right, 1.5 foot maybe. So the water never come close to either house. And then ours is way up on top of everybody else. So, but Don says 2 years ago in September, I thought he said 2 years ago in September, they had a really bad typhoon. And the water actually, I think it came through the house. Like a foot or two, something like that. Something like that, I think. And, which is, that sucks. I know that sucks when we hear it as Westerners, because our houses are mostly wood, and they got drywall in them and stuff, and carpet, and things that in the West, if our houses get wet, it ruins them pretty much. It totals the house. It's just a big fucking mess, is what it is in the West. And we got basements, so then will fill up the water. But here, there's no basements. The houses, most of them are concrete. I wouldn't say most of them, but a lot of them are. The more fortunate people have concrete houses. There are a lot of bamboo houses. That's right, bamboo. Pretty primitive. A lot of primitive living around here. They're built with just scrap, whatever, wood, 2x4s, 2x2s, tin, bags, tarps, whatever you can use and find. You're going to build a house here, and you're going to live in it. And that's okay. That's just the way it is here in the Philippines, folks. This is a third world country, and there's a lot of poverty here. The minimum wage here, I just looked, it varies across the region of the country. It varies across the whole country. It's anywhere from $5.61 American dollars a day, $5.61 a day, to like $10.60 a day. And those are the minimum wages, and varies across the country, the Philippines, and they say that's enough to meet the essential needs of the individuals. Whatever. I disagree with that, and I'm sure a lot of Filipinos would disagree with that too, but it is what it is. But anyway, so there's not, people don't have a lot of money. You don't have flood insurance. You just, people can't afford that stuff. That's a luxury. If you can afford flood insurance, you're not going to be living in, a lot of places people do around here. And I don't know if you can get flood insurance in these, even if you wanted to, in these flood-prone zones, if that's what you call them. But people just don't. People can't afford that. That's just a waste of money. But back to so the family had some water a couple years come through their house. And they're like, oh, it's no big deal. Everything's concrete. So they were prepared for it. They get warnings from the government. And the locals here, they know what to expect and when to expect it. I mean, you could be out, it could be a sunny day, and you could look up in the sky and maybe see a few clouds, and they'll be like, hey, it's going to be raining here pretty soon. They'll be like, huh, what? Sure enough, it'll be raining. So they get to know the area and the weather really good, and they know what to look for. But anyway, the water came through their house a couple of years back, I guess, and I remember that. I remember just showing pictures. But it's okay. They just move things to a higher, keep it off the ground, and the house dries out, and they clean everything up, and life is well again. So today's flooding is kind of normal, they said. It doesn't happen that often, but it's just it's basically in the West we call it a flash flood. That's what we call it. In the West we call it a flash flood. You got heavy downpours, torrential rains, and the water levels come up really quick and they flood everything, and then they recede real quick. So the water receded from, like, when I noticed at 7 o'clock, a little after 7, by what time was it? By noon, I think. By noon. I think by noon the water was already receded. And it was starting to go down pretty much around 8 o'clock. It started to go down. So, that's just the way it is around here. People deal with it. It doesn't happen everywhere around the city, guys. It's just this is where this barangay is, where we're located. It's kind of a low-lying area. There's a river that comes through up there. So, it is what it is. You just deal with it. It's not a big deal. So, yeah, the kids love it. My brother-in-law says the kids wait for days like this. And you could hear them. I could hear them from here just having a good old time. So I said, man, I got to get my aqua shoes on and grab my phone. I'm going to go up and take some videos. And I did that, and boy, the kids were loving it. God, they had a great time up there. They were loving it. And as you see in one of the videos, the Sorry store was still in business. In the background, there's a TV on. They still, we didn't lose our power, so that's good. Business as usual. People still go about their business. They still got to get to and from work and get to and from the stores, and, their daily life doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop. Luckily, all the guys had the the trikes and stuff, they had all them moved out of the way, so that was good. I remember somebody, Letitia was asking about electrocution. Well, I thought of that too. I thought of that too, electrocution. But then we didn't have really strong winds. Luckily, no power lines got knocked down. But that's the thought went through my head too. In the naturally floating debris, in the West, don't drive through it, don't walk through it, turn around, don't drown. That's the mentality that we're taught in the West. Luckily for here, the path is it's a concrete, sidewalk all the way up to the basketball court, and that's concrete. And then you got the big open area where people kind of hang, and there's a few stores there. And then you go across the walking bridge. So I'm familiar with the ground, the layout of the ground. There's not a lot of, nothing too bad that you got to worry about, except for down here on the sidewalk. If you see on the one video where that water was pouring over the kind of the wall there, that's the edge of the concrete. There's a sidewalk and it drops off there. So you can kind of see some of the hazards around. But yeah, that current was pretty strong earlier. It was pretty impressive. I mean, I'm glad nobody got hurt, and life goes on here. All is well. And I'm glad I had a chance to experience it. I was wondering if I would get to. My brother-in-law says he thought for sure we still got 20 days left here, 21 days left here in Legazpi City. And then we go to Manila for, I think, a day or two, and then we fly out of here. So we still got plenty of time to see a typhoon. December is big time typhoon season. I don't think I want to see a typhoon now because I seen the flooding. I seen a little bit of flooding. I experienced that. Bad thing about a typhoon, like my brother-in-law says, he says, you don't want to see a typhoon. He says, the flooding is not the bad part about it. The worst part is when you lose the power. When you lose the power here, you can lose it from, high winds. You can lose it for a day, an hour, a day, 2 days, 2 weeks. It depends. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to experience that. But the good thing, the houses, well, ours here is, and brother-in-law's and mom and papa's is all concrete, so they should hold up to that pretty well. But yeah, no, it was very interesting. I'm glad I got to be a part of that, experience that. Everybody's happy, joy around here when it does happen. It's just the way it is. I haven't been out on the scooter yet because once it receded, it quit for a little bit, and it's pretty much been steady rain all day. But we're not having the torrential downpours that we're having, so hopefully it won't flood again. My brother-in-law said the walking bridge was about 2 foot from the bottom of it. When we went walking up there, it was right to the bottom of it. I'm pretty sure it went over the top. I'm not sure if I don't know. But I never seen it go over the top. But yeah, walking this area every day for a month and a half or whatever, month of the week so far, you get to know the area pretty good, that's for sure. Oh, yeah, I had to take a nap, guys. Oh. But, no, I just thought I'd share that with you. Yeah, that's just normal in the Philippines, in certain areas, the flooding. It's just the way it is. So, all right, Bachler out.